Hello everyone and welcome back to our channel. So as you are all aware of, we had started with the digestive system. So we shall continue with the same. We'll move on to the next organ, that is pancreas. So just to have a brief idea about the various organs belonging to this particular system, basically it is divided into two types of organs. Okay, so one comprises of collectively called as GI tract or gastrointestinal tract, which include mouth, pharynx, esophagus, stomach, small intestine and the large intestine. So it's a tube-like structure, a pipe-like structure in continuation right from the beginning till the end, from the mouth to the anus, and rest of the organs which actually do not come in contact with the food, these are collectively called as accessory digestive organs. Okay, a certain come in contact with the food, and certain organs secrete certain juices which help in digestion because they contain certain enzymes. Okay, so these are collectively called as accessory digestive organs. So these include teeth, tongue, pancreas, liver and the gallbladder. So as you are all aware of, we had started with the individual organs. So we have covered the mouth, pharynx, esophagus and stomach we have covered in the last lecture. Okay. As we have discussed the mouth, we have also covered the teeth and the tongue as the accessory digestive organs, so how they help in the digestion. So now we shall continue with the next accessory digestive organ, that is pancreas. Okay, so we'll see the anatomy, the histology and the secretion, the physiology part, that is the secretions which they secrete and what are the functions of the several components which the pancreatic juice is composed of. Okay, so to start with the anatomy of the pancreas. Okay, so let's see what is a gross anatomy of pancreas. So before going into it, let us see why it is known so. Okay, from where this name has been discovered. Okay, so the actual meaning of this word pancreas, pan means all and creas means flesh. Okay, so that's why it mainly comprises of the tissues. Okay, it is soft in nature, so that's why it is known as pancreas, and it's an retroperitoneal gland. It's a gland actually, both endocrine as well as exocrine gland, okay, which will produce certain secretions. The endocrine part will secrete certain hormones directly into the bloodstream. Of course, the endocrine part of the pancreas will be studying in detail under the endocrine system. Okay, in this particular chapter we will focus more on the exocrine part of the pancreas. Okay, so this is actually a gland, okay, and it is retroperitoneal in nature. Okay, if you can recall, and in the overview we had briefed about the peritoneum. So it's a protective layer which is actually covering all the organs, visceral organs. Okay, so it has two layers, and there are certain organs which lie towards the posterior part of the peritoneum. That is, it is actually covered by this peritoneum only anteriorly, that is only from the front side. Okay, rest all the organs are covered by this peritoneum throughout. There are certain organs which are covered by the peritoneum only from one side, that is from the anterior side. Okay, such type of organs are known as retroperitoneal. These are actually lying towards the posterior wall of the abdominal cavity, okay, abdominopelvic cavity. There are certain organs. So one of these is the pancreas. Okay, so coming to the size of this particular organ, it's about 12 to 15 centimeter in length and 2.5 centimeter in the thickness. Okay, so 12 to 15 centimeter is the length of this organ. This is pancreas. Okay, and 2.5 centimeter is the thickness, and location wise it is lying posterior to the greater curvature of the stomach. Okay, stomach is the organ which we have considered in the last lecture. Okay, so we have seen that actually the pancreas is not visible. It is lying posterior to the stomach. Okay, and it's a retroperitoneal organ. Okay, now the gross anatomy wise, it is basically divided into three portions. Okay, that is a head, body and a tail. Okay, and this is usually connected to the duodenum. This is the duodenum, okay, which is the first part of your small intestine. Okay, so here actually the J-shaped stomach is located. Okay, if you can recall the last lecture, and from the stomach the chyme will move into the small intestine. Okay, that is the first part of the small intestine, that is duodenum. It is divided into three parts: duodenum, jejunum and ileum. Okay, so this is the first part of your small intestine. So just in the curve of this small intestine lies the pancreas posterior to the stomach. Okay, and it is basically divided into three portions, that is the head, body and the tail. Okay, now this head portion, it is actually the expanded part of the organ which lies near to the curvature of the duodenum. Okay, this one. This is the head of the pancreas. Towards the left and towards the superior. Now here you can see that the remaining part lies towards the left of the head, and it is slightly superior to the head, right? Slightly it is diverting towards the upward side. Okay, so slightly towards the superior side lies the middle portion of the pancreas, that is known as the body. Okay, this portion, this is the body of pancreas, and the last part, that is the tapering part, is known as the tail of the pancreas, this portion. Okay, so this to do with the location and the parts of the pancreas. Now the main function of pancreas, it's a gland, so it will secrete several hormones, it will secrete certain other components also. Okay, so collectively it is known as the exocrine part of the pancreas. The exocrine cells of the pancreas, they produce a juice known as pancreatic juice. Okay, so this pancreatic juice, it is collected by small ducts. It's an exocrine part, right? So exocrine cells, they secrete their secretions into duct. Okay, these are carried to the site via small ducts. Okay, so whatever pancreatic juices are produced by these exocrine cells of the pancreas, of course we will come to this histology part a little later, okay, in which it will be more clearer. So exocrine cells will be producing these pancreatic juices, which will be collected by small ducts. Okay, so all these small ducts will, here you can see that small ducts are joining over here, right? Okay, so these small ducts will ultimately unite to form two large ducts. There are two main ducts which carry this pancreatic juice into the small intestine. Okay, so this juice comprises of several types of digestive enzymes which help in the digestion of the chyme which is entering in this small intestine. So pancreas, it produces several enzymes which are carried by these pancreatic juices into this duodenum, which is the first part of your small intestine. Okay, so there are two main ducts which are actually opening into the duodenum. Okay, the first one is the pancreatic duct. This is the one, the main duct which is coming. Okay, so this one is known as pancreatic duct, or it is also known as duct of Wirsung. And the second main duct is the accessory duct. This is also known as duct of Santorini. Okay, so these two are the ducts which will mainly convey the pancreatic juices into the small intestine. Okay, now coming to the first type of duct which is carrying the pancreatic juices. Okay, that is pancreatic duct. It is also known as duct of Wirsung, as I told you. So this is the larger out of the two ducts. As you can see, this one, pancreatic duct, it is actually larger as compared to the accessory duct. Okay, so this pancreatic duct, as it moves towards the head of the pancreas, as you can see that there is one more duct which is coming from here, the faint one. Okay, so I'll just zoom it for you. So this particular duct which is actually coming from the liver, this is the liver, right? Superior to your pancreas lies the liver towards the right hand side. Okay, so liver which produces the bile, again it is helpful in digestion. Okay, bile. Now this particular ducts, there are two ducts coming from the two different lobes. Of course we will study about the liver also in detail in the next lecture. Okay, so for now just keep in mind what are the different types of ducts which are carrying the secretions of the liver to the intestine, that is the hepatic ducts. Okay, these are known as hepatic ducts. Okay, so from the two lobes of the liver, there are two main hepatic ducts which are originating, right hepatic duct and the left hepatic duct. So these will unite to form the common hepatic duct. This common hepatic duct in turn will join with the cystic duct which is coming from the gallbladder. This is the gallbladder. Okay, of course we will study about these two organs in detail in the next lecture. Okay, so these two are uniting together to form the common bile duct. So this common bile duct in turn is uniting with this pancreatic duct which is coming from major portion of the pancreas. So pancreatic juices, they combine with the bile which is secreted by the liver, and it is collectively secreted into the duodenum, which is the small intestine. Okay, now this particular opening, okay, at which actually the two ducts are uniting together, it forms an expanded portion, and that expanded portion is known as hepatopancreatic ampulla, or it is also known as ampulla of Vater. This one here. Okay, just when these two ducts join together, it forms an expanded duct, okay, or expanded opening. It is known as hepatopancreatic ampulla commonly. Okay, and this hepatopancreatic ampulla opens into the duodenum at a raised portion of the duodenal mucosa, and that is known as major duodenal papilla. Okay, now this will be more clearer in this particular picture. So it is a more detailed picture showing actually the hepatopancreatic ampulla. So here you can see the pancreatic duct, it is uniting with the common bile duct, and it forms an expanded portion that is known as hepatopancreatic ampulla or ampulla of Vater. This is the mucosa of the duodenum, and it is opening into the duodenum at a elevated portion of the epithelium, and that is known as major duodenal papilla. Now, whatever secretions are brought by this hepatopancreatic ampulla, both the pancreatic juice as well as the bile, together it will enter into the duodenum through this particular opening in the major duodenal papilla. Now at this particular opening lies a sphincter known as sphincter of hepatopancreatic ampulla, or it is also known as sphincter of Oddi. Now what is the function of this sphincter? It is regulating the flow of bile as well as pancreatic juices into the duodenum. Okay. So when do you want these secretions to come to the duodenum? It's only when the food is present over there, right? Because they bring most of the types of enzymes required for the digestion of the food. Okay. So this sphincter, it regulates the amount of secretions to be entering into the duodenum. Okay, so as and when more and more food is entering into the duodenum, this particular sphincter, it will get relaxed, and more bile and pancreatic juices will be flowing into the small intestine, that is into the duodenum. So that is regulated by this particular sphincter, sphincter of hepatopancreatic ampulla, or it is also known as sphincter of Oddi. Okay, so this is to do with the pancreatic duct. Now the second major duct of the pancreas is known as accessory duct. Okay, this one. Now this particular duct also carries the pancreatic juices. Okay, but here it does not unite with the common bile duct. Common bile duct unites only with the pancreatic duct. It does not unite with this accessory duct. So accessory duct, what is the difference between the two? Accessory duct will carry only the pancreatic juices and it will open into the duodenum. Now the opening of this particular accessory duct, it lies just 2.5 centimeter superior to the opening of the hepatopancreatic ampulla. Okay, so it's just lying nearby to this particular opening of the hepatopancreatic ampulla, but it's just 2.5 centimeter away from it. Okay, so both of these will open into the duodenum and carry the pancreatic juice, as well as the bile is also secreted by the hepatopancreatic ampulla into the duodenum. So this is an actual picture. So that's the duodenum, which is the first part of your small intestine. This is the liver, okay, this is the spleen, and this one is your pancreas. That's the head of pancreas, body of pancreas, and the tail, tapering tail of pancreas. And as you can see over here, the duct is clearly visible. The pancreatic duct is clearly visible. And this is the common bile duct, which is coming from the liver and the gallbladder. It is uniting with the pancreatic duct and it is forming an hepatopancreatic ampulla, the expanded portion, and it is opening at the major duodenal papilla. Okay, so this is the picture again which is depicting the flow of the bile and the pancreatic juices, how the ducts are carrying the secretion. So as I have told you earlier, the right hepatic duct is coming from the right lobe, this one. It is uniting with the left hepatic duct, which is coming from the left lobe of the liver. It forms the common hepatic duct, which comes from the liver. This is the one. Further, it will unite with the cystic duct, which is coming from the gallbladder. Okay, so gallbladder, the function is to store the bile. Okay, so sometimes whenever the bile is not required, it will be stored into the gallbladder. Okay, and as and when required, the gallbladder will contract and it will release the stored bile into this common bile duct. Okay, so cystic duct will unite with the common hepatic duct to form the common bile duct. Here, this one. And further, this common bile duct will unite with the pancreatic duct from the pancreas, and both the secretions, that is bile from the liver and the pancreatic juices from the pancreas, both will be emptied into the duodenum through this hepatopancreatic ampulla, which is regulated by the sphincter. Okay, so this is how the flow of bile and pancreatic juices will take place. Okay, so moving on to the histology part of the pancreas. Okay, so usually the pancreas, it is made up of small clusters of glandular epithelial cells. Okay, so major portion of the pancreas, it is almost entirely made up of these glandular epithelial cells. So the function of these type of cells is secretion, as you are all aware of. This type of epithelial cells, a major role is secretions of certain juices. Okay, now as far as pancreas is concerned, 99% of these clusters, these are known as acini. So 99% of these clusters, they are comprised of the exocrine portion of the organ. Okay, so as we have seen in the introduction that pancreas is an endocrine as well as exocrine organ, right? It's an exocrine as well as endocrine gland. Whereas if you consider pancreas as a whole, 99% of the clusters which comprise of glandular epithelial cells, these are made up of exocrine cells, and these clusters are known as acini. These are the ones. These are the clusters of the glandular. These are the glandular epithelial cells which are secreting their secretions into the small ducts. Okay, so this surrounding portion, as you can see, these are the exocrine acini. This is one acinus, this is the second one, this is the third one. So there are number of acini which are present, which are comprised of these exocrine type of cells, which will secrete their secretions into the small ducts, which will ultimately unite to form the pancreatic duct. Okay, so these acini, what is their function? Their function is to secrete a mixture of fluid and digestive enzymes, and this secretion is called as the pancreatic juice. Okay, so 99% of the pancreas, it comprises of the exocrine part, whereas the remaining 1% of the clusters, it comprises of the pancreatic islets, which are also known as islets of Langerhans. This is the one. Okay, so they are composed of several types of cells, okay, endocrine cells, which will be producing different types of hormones, which will be directly secreted into the bloodstream. They are not carried to their site of action through the ducts. Okay, so that's why this particular portion is known as endocrine portion. As you can see that there are different types of cells. These are alpha cells secreting the glucagon, beta cells producing the insulin, then delta cells, these are the ones which secrete the somatostatin, and the F cells, these ones, which secrete the pancreatic polypeptide. Okay, so these islets of Langerhans, they comprise of the endocrine portion, whereas the 99% of the cluster, they comprises of the acini, which produce the pancreatic juice. Okay, now coming to the composition and function of the pancreatic juice. Okay, so the amount of pancreatic juice which is produced per day, it is round about 1200 to 1500 ml. Okay, so round about 1 to 1.5 liters of pancreatic juice is secreted by the pancreas each day. Now this pancreatic juice, it's a clear colorless liquid which mainly comprises of water. Most of it is water. Some dissolved salts are also present. Also sodium bicarbonate is present in the pancreatic juice, and several digestive enzymes are present. Okay, now coming to the functions of each of these. Okay, now this sodium bicarbonate, as you are all aware of, sodium bicarbonate, it's an alkali, right? So this sodium bicarbonate present in the pancreatic juice, it gives the pancreatic juice a slightly alkaline pH. So the pH of pancreatic juice is 7.1 to 8.2. It's an alkaline pH. That's because of the presence of sodium bicarbonate. Okay, now what is the function of the sodium bicarbonate? Why it is produced? In order to buffer the acidic gastric juice which is present in the chyme. Okay, now as you all are all aware of, in the stomach mainly the acid is secreted, right? So the content which is coming from the stomach, which is emptied into the duodenum, obviously it will be acidic in nature. That chyme will be mixed with the acidic gastric juice, right? So what is the role of the sodium bicarbonate? It will help in buffering this acidic pH of this chyme which is entering into the duodenum. Okay, so because of this change in the pH to the alkaline pH, it will stop the action of this enzyme pepsin, which is a protein digesting enzyme which is secreted in the stomach. Okay, so its function is stopped now because of the change in the pH. It's active only in the acidic pH. Now here the pH has been changed by the sodium bicarbonate, so its activity will be stopped now. And further it will create an appropriate pH for the action of the digestive enzymes which are secreted in the small intestine. Okay, now apart from this, mainly the pancreatic juice will be comprising of several types of enzymes. Okay, a number of type of food can be digested by the small intestine because of the presence of these different types of enzymes. Say there is a starch digesting enzyme called as pancreatic amylase. Okay, there was a salivary amylase also, right, which was produced by the salivary glands. So similarly, there is a pancreatic amylase which is a starch digesting enzyme. There are a number of protein digesting enzymes which will digest the proteins into the peptides. Okay, so there are 4 main protein digesting enzymes, that is trypsin, chymotrypsin, carboxypeptidase and elastase. Then there is also a triglyceride digesting enzyme also, that is fat digesting enzyme. That's known as the pancreatic lipase. Apart from this, there are nucleic acid digesting enzymes also. There are 2 types. Okay. There are specialized enzymes for digesting different types of nucleic acid. Okay. That is ribonuclease will digest the ribonucleic acid, that is RNA, and deoxyribonucleases, these will digest the deoxyribonucleic acid, that is the DNA, into the nucleotides, respective nucleotides. Okay. Now, this is to do with the composition and function of each component. Okay. Now, there is certain property about these enzymes which you should keep in mind, okay, especially the protein digesting enzymes. Now, these protein digesting enzymes, which are the ones, there are 4 enzymes, right? Trypsin, chymotrypsin, carboxypeptidase and elastase. Now, imagine if these enzymes were secreted in the active form, what will happen? They can even digest the cellular content of the pancreas itself, right? These are protein digesting enzymes, right? And cells, they comprise mainly of the proteins. There are many protein components in the cells, right? So, obviously, if these protein digesting enzymes of the pancreas, okay, if they were secreted in the active form, what will happen? The pancreas only would have been digested by these particular enzymes. Okay, so, for that matter, these enzymes are produced in the inactive form. These enzymes are never secreted in the active form. Okay, say trypsin, it is secreted in an inactive form, precursor form known as trypsinogen. And in the acinar cells, a specific protein is also secreted, that is trypsin inhibitor, which will keep this enzyme inhibited. So, any accidental activation of the trypsinogen, actually trypsinogen activation to trypsin does not take place in the pancreas. But in case if there is any accidental activation of this trypsinogen to trypsin, what will happen? It will start digesting the pancreatic cells, right? Proteins in the pancreatic cells. So, to keep this enzyme inhibited, a specific inhibitor is secreted. A special protein is secreted, that is trypsin inhibitor, which will keep this enzyme inhibited. Now, why only this enzyme is kept inhibited? Why not the other? That's because the activation of the remaining 3 enzymes is dependent upon this active form of the trypsinogen, that is trypsin. Okay, all the enzymes are secreted in the inactive form. Trypsin in the form of trypsinogen, chymotrypsin is secreted in the form of chymotrypsinogen, carboxypeptidase is secreted in the form of procarboxypeptidase, and elastase is secreted in the inactive form, precursor form, that is proelastase. Now, why there is only trypsin inhibitor which is secreted? That's because the activation of all these remaining 3 enzymes, it is dependent upon the trypsin. These are activated by trypsin. Okay, so only trypsin is kept inhibited by trypsin inhibitor. Okay, so this trypsinogen, once it reaches the lumen of the small intestine, once it is secreted in the small intestine, once it reaches the duodenum, it will encounter an activating brush border enzyme called as enterokinase. Okay, so this enzyme is responsible for activation of trypsinogen to trypsin. So it will split off a part of trypsinogen and it will convert trypsinogen to trypsin. And in turn, this trypsin will convert chymotrypsinogen to chymotrypsin, procarboxypeptidase to carboxypeptidase, and proelastase into elastase. Okay, and these are the active forms of enzymes which are actually involved in the digestion of the proteins to peptides. Okay, so this is to do with the pancreas, the anatomy, histology, and the pancreatic juice and its composition and function. This is the reference. Thank you for watching.